Welcome to the Sports Car Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Happy Sunday. We have another Sunday morning game live from Berlin, Germany. And this game has been pretty good. I watched the first half. I did a couple things during halftime. I was going to start recording, and then I got into this game again, and then I'm realizing I'm getting late in the game. I just watched Jonathan Taylor run for an 83-yard touchdown, and I'm like, okay, I have to do this. I'm recording the last 5 minutes of the game too. So we haven't seen many good games Sunday morning. So yeah, this has been it's been fun this morning. It's been a busy hobby week for me. I'll jump into that a little later. A couple program notes. Tuesday's hobby chop. We will be live Tuesday night again at 9 p.m. Zip and I, we're bringing on Christine from Card Ladder. So that's going to be a really fun episode. Next week, I will be traveling, but you will have a recorded episode. A great interview with Corey Donahue from Collect for Good. So that's also going to be fun for you guys. Pretty sure the next 4 weeks, 3 weeks, the next 3 weeks, we have a lot of exciting things going on. And I'm going to give the whole rundown at the end of the episode. Everything I've got going on. It was like, wasn't doing anything in the hobby. It felt like, forever since I set up at a show, or I've been doing mostly stuff here in the office and sending cars to consignment and all this other stuff. And now all of a sudden, and I've been saying, right? Oh, when this comes and that comes and down the road. Well, now down the road is here, right? So now I have like 3 really busy weeks coming up. So looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. We're going to start the episode off today just a little different. I wanted to give my advice on a video I saw yesterday. I'm sure a lot of you've seen it at Victory Investments on IG. Great guy, a fellow Chiefs fan, had an incident with some cards being stolen. I think he put it on TikTok. He put the video up on TikTok. His cards were stolen, 2 of them being sent to be authenticated at PSA, right? So when you sell a card on eBay and it needs to be authenticated, it gets shipped to PSA. So he posted a video that he had 2 of his cards have been stolen. And if you haven't seen it, go find the video just in case, you may have seen these, you may see these cards out and about or being sold somewhere. You may be able to help him out. But I'm sure I talked about this many episodes ago. And I talked about it on a number of episodes that I had so much trouble sending cards to PSA through the post office. For the longest time, all I used was the post office right down the street from me. I could walk there, bring my packages, get them ready the night before, go walk to the post office in the morning, drop them off. Super convenient. And then all of a sudden, I started to have trouble with them. It started with sending cards to PSA. And he talks about it on his video that, PSA is receiving, 3,000 to 5,000 packages a day there in California. Whether the packages are coming in for grading or cards being sold that need to be authenticated. And goes on to talk about, talking with the FBI, and they know that, everybody knows those cards are coming in through those through the post office, where they're going and what's in those packages, right? And I know my trouble started a couple of years ago sending cards to PSA, right? It's this packages that were being tampered with, that were opened, and either cards missing or had the packages had been gone through and it wasn't something they wanted to steal, right? The packages were cut open, packages being damaged, right? 3 times I sent cards, and I'd wrap them in Ziploc bags, right, in the cardboard, the USPS boxes, right? And I would ship them out the small priority boxes, and then PSA would get them, and then they would tell me they refused it, and they're shipping the box back to me, and it would come all soaking wet, like it'd been sitting in a puddle somewhere. Then I had a package lost, right? And I was filing all the paperwork for it, and I submitted all through I have collectibles insurance, so I had to ship all the paper, fill out all the paperwork, send it in, and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, months later, or not months, but 5 or 6 weeks later, the package just appeared. Like, oh, look what we found! It's here. You can cancel that your insurance claim. We found your package. And this has happened, right? Just stuff selling on eBay, right? I noticed stuff I started selling on eBay, even buying stuff. Like all of a sudden, the package would say, "Oh yeah, it was dropped at the post office. It went to here. Oh yeah, it disappeared." Right. And then on the other hand, I don't know if the people shipping me the packages, did they ever get to the post office? Did they drop them off? I don't know what's going on their end. But then on my end, it started happening. I'm shipping packages off, and there people aren't getting them. And I know on my end, I'm shipping these packages, right? So and one thing with eBay, just shipping them to people's houses, but it's another thing when they need to be authenticated, you have to send them the PSA, right? Um, And one time, I considered when PSA opened uh, in New Jersey. I'm pretty sure it's Jersey City, New Jersey, right? They opened up their location there that hey, you can go drop your cards off on a certain day of the week. I think it was Wednesday or something. You could just drive there and drop your cards off. And I considered doing that too. But if you're familiar with the traffic going from Connecticut to New Jersey and from New Jersey back to Connecticut, I would, I'd rather, you know, it would probably be a 4 to 6 hour round trip drive just with all the traffic. So, um, I decided everything I was going to ship uh, to PSA, whether it was going for grading or it was something I sold on eBay and needed to be authenticated and be shipped to PSA, I'll only ship FedEx now. Um, I stuff that I sell on eBay that I know that's going to need to be authenticated, I add that into the shipping. I'll ship FedEx and I ship 2 day, right? So I have a shipping center close to the house here. Almost, I think it's actually even closer now when they relocated closer than the post office. Um, I know there's a bunch of online shipping companies, and people have said, a number of times, "Hey, Big Ken, you should use this. You should use that." It just so happened, when I got into the hobby about 5 years ago, someone said, "Oh, I use Shippo." So I jumped in, I opened an account with Shippo, and I've been shipping with them since. And I was doing a lot of the post office stuff, right? Printing out the post office packages and going out, dropping them off there. And after having all these troubles, I use the same company, but um, I do everything from through them. And I've realized price point, right? I don't even use the post office for anything anymore. Unless I sell something and I'm looking, where it's going. And if it doesn't have through eBay and it doesn't have to go through authentication and it's like $3 or $4, through the post office, I'll print out that label, buy it through eBay. But anything else that is of value, right, that I'm concerned with, even if I do a deal online, like if I post a card on Instagram or Facebook or something and somebody wants to buy it, I, I'm sending it FedEx, and I'm telling you, it's coming FedEx. It's not sending it through the post office. Too much trouble through them. Um, Anything I send to PSA, BGS, or even consignment, I send it all FedEx. And if you look at that price point difference, it's really not that much, right? The furthest here from Connecticut, right, is shipping to PSA, and it's probably the most expensive to ship to California. That's probably the most expensive I send. So, and I'll just give you for instance, if I'm sending it with the post office, right, and I'm trying to get it there like in a priority mailer or something like that, ends up being like $10 or $11, right? And it's taking 3 or 4 days and it's having trouble, right? Where I could spend a few extra dollars, maybe $15 or $16. It's getting there in 2 days. No, I've not had one bit of trouble sending it that way. Sleep like a baby at night, knowing it's going to get there. And on rare occasions, if I'm shipping something and UPS ends up being that it doesn't have to get on a plane, right? It can go ground UPS, but it's still getting there within 1 day or 2 day, especially when I'm shipping stuff to, say, New York for consignment or things like that. I'll let it go on UPS. Haven't had a problem with them either. But and since I've started doing that, no problems at all. Haven't had zero problems shipping cards, no tampered, with packages, no lost packages, no delayed packages. Um, and that's my suggestion, right? If you're shipping anything expensive, like I would not ship it through the mail. And I just think in my mind that the mail is too many people handling it, right? Whether it's wherever it's going. And the mail will say, yeah, it's getting there in 2 to 3 days. And you'll see, oh, yeah, well, you're not giving me any money back if you tell me it's going to be there in 2 days, but it doesn't show up for 4 days. No one's sending me a refund telling me, oh, well, we're sorry it didn't get there. And 9 out of 10 times, whatever the post office told me it was going to be there, it never showed up that day. It was always a day later. And it's always, well, it's your post office. I would drop packages off at my post office and they would somewhere between there and where they shipped them to before they get on a plane. It would take 2 days before they even got on a plane to go anywhere, which I never understood either. Um, so my advice, right? Just my advice, and obviously I'm not sponsored by any of them. My advice is find an account, a shipping account online. I'm sure most of you already have one anyways. If you're selling cards from home, makes it so much easier. But my advice would be look at the rates for FedEx and UPS, and I would certainly go with them. Anything of value or anything I was concerned with that they were getting there. Um, a few episodes ago, I talked about sending cards off to Fanatics Collects, working on leveling up. Sending a bunch of lower end cards to accumulate money to buy some bigger cards. Right? It's almost like going to a show and saying, "Hey, I've got these 5 $100 cards. Will you take those for that $500 card?" Um, Similar, not the same, but similar, doing the same thing. Let me send, all these $100 cards off to them, let them sell them. And I have to say, I'm not concerned with what they're selling for. Right. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, I sent my $100 card to Fanatics and it only sold for $86. And well, if you're that concerned on that, maybe that's not the place to go. But that $100 card may sell for $150, right? Or it could sell for 75. But these are cards that I'm not concerned with, that if they're selling for 75 or 125, I'm excited if it sells for a little more, but I'm not losing sleep over it's selling for less, right? And so many, thoughts in the hobby. People say all these different things, but at the end of the day, right, you have to realize, and I'm going to get into this a little later too with some of my inventory, is maybe at one point it was selling for $100, but if it's selling for 75, that's the new comp, right? You've just created the new comp, the new low comp. If that's the first time it sold for 75, not that some company screwed you and it is what it is. I mean, if it was worth 100 and people wanted it, it would be bid up to $100, right? If it ends up selling at 75 or 50 or even 25, well, guess what? That's the new comp on the card. And when you send your cards off to these places, you don't have control about that over that. But anyways, I talked about sending them in. I two different packages. I purchased 10 cards from them. The first package of 3 cards came in this week, and I just want to share them with you. The first is Bowman U Best Justice Carlton, uh, Best of 2024. It's the Orange Geo. This one is bookend 25 of 25 auto PSA 10. If you're on YouTube, holding that up. The Silas Swords, making the grade. Also, this is a red, the Geo PSA 10, and this one is numbered 210, PSA 10. And my favorite of all, and I talked about this card, the Bowman U Now, Juju Watkins, March Madness, Auto Red. This is 4 of 10. And I actually, when I bought these, I actually got another. I have 2 of these cards now, and I sent mine out to PSA, and it came back PSA 9. So when I saw this 10 show up, I just said, you know what? There's only 10 of them. I'm going to buy this card, which I did, and I'm super excited to have this. I'm waiting on delivery of 7 other cards from them, and if you know, you know, right? So if you buy cards from them, just tell them, hey, put them in the vault, and then wait a few days, and then request them to be shipped because you don't have to pay the taxes on the card, and taxes are taxes, and I know you have to pay a handling fee on the other side. But some of these cards, like this Juju Watkins, if I was going to pay taxes on that, it would have covered a lot of shipping and a lot of handling, right? So I'm happy, especially if you buy a more expensive card and you don't have to pay taxes on it. It's a win-win there. 2 episodes ago, I talked about making a deal on IG. This card was actually listed on eBay. I contacted the seller. I talked about it. Made a deal off, and it came. Super excited to have this one. This is the Bowman U, Michaela Blake's. This is the red auto, numbered to 10, and it's the inscription, and it is a PSA 10. So this is the card they had on eBay. I was able to find a seller, and I know he has some other cards that I've been looking at on there, and I'm getting ready to reach out to him to maybe purchase another 1 or 2 from him. But super excited to have that card. So this weekend, I talked on the last episode about possibly setting up at the Titan Show in Yorktown, New York. I know I didn't have a lot of inventory. I had enough slabs for 1 showcase, so I built singles boxes, which I knew I would have to anyways, all football. And not only for this show, but I've talked about how I have the Mohegan show coming up in 2 weeks. I have the big show coming up the week after that, Causeway show in December. Ton of inventory of single cards here with boxes that I really need to just start moving this stuff, building these boxes. So I got some boxes, all football. I focused on the football this week. And as I say that, I know it's football is like not the best time to be selling football right now, but if I've got 3 5-row boxes of football, so I have to start moving them at some point and start getting what I can get for them type of thought pattern. So I got these boxes built this week with the help of my wife. I got to put her to work this week. She did a lot of penny sleeving, she penny sleeved a few thousand cards this week. So shout out to her. It was definitely a huge help. I was up early Saturday morning, drive down to New York, set up next to Bill and Billy. But Bill had the 2 tables, gave me 1 table. So we set up together. And this Titan show is kind of a strange show, and I think the promoter does everything he can to promote the show. I think when he's setting up the room, we've been there where there was plenty of room, and then we've been there where you couldn't even move in the aisles. And now you can move in the aisles, but dealers can't move anywhere because the tables are so jammed in there. And I know as a dealer, I mean, that's what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to sell tables at it. And the more tables you can sell, the better you do, because that's, it's like selling cards, right? The more cards you can sell, the better. So if you're the promoter, you want to sell your tables. That's where you're making your money, right? So so we had some tight tables in there when somebody needed to get up and go out. Everybody had to stand up and slide their chair in so somebody could make it all the way around to get out. When they came back, same thing. It was like being at a show, right? When you the whole row stands up so somebody can get in or get out. Wasn't much room behind those tables. Wax was the biggest seller in the room. And this was one of those shows where just kids and young adults, right, all coming and just buying the wax, ripping it, and then just walking around the room selling the cards that they ripped out of the. I mean, this was their thing. This was their goal that day, was to buy the wax, rip the boxes, penny sleeve and top load the cards, and then walk around the room, sell the cards, and then try to, you know, earn the money back to go rip some more wax. I had two 5-row boxes and one 3-row box of football. And I can honestly say, I don't think anybody even went through them. Like, that was not, nobody was in there digging through my boxes anyways, and I didn't really see many people in the room digging through boxes, which is just and I mention that because it's kind of strange for a show. I mean, shows lately, this is what people are doing. They want to get into those singles boxes. They want to make deals, and I did that. I'll talk about the deals that I got out of there. I mean, just unbelievable deals, and this is where you could really, if that's what you're doing, you really could profit on that. Everything in my boxes were $1, $3, $5, and then there was one row of prices of 10 and up. Right, it's just any of the cards that were better cards, priced a little higher. I think I sold 3 or 4 cards out of the higher row value, maybe 4 or 5 cards out of the $3 and $5, but that was it. I mean, and people came up and I think they were somewhat overwhelmed, right? They come up and they look at the box and they, I'm moving on. They didn't want to take the time to go through that, and there's a ton of value. Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, as I built the boxes, I'm like, did I make a mistake here? I'm thinking in my mind, in the $3 row, there's tons of $5 cards in there, right? It's just so, and I do that because I want to sell the cards, right? I don't need to get every penny out of every card. I just want to sell the cards. I want to move them out so I can use that money to get more inventory and bring it in, right? Um, but no, this was not a show that people wanted to go through boxes. So on one hand, I'm happy I build these boxes and they're ready to go for the next show, right? The Mohegan show. But yeah, it was a little disappointing. I was hoping to sell some more out of there. Um, Everybody attending the show, all trying to sell football. I mean, just football is coming around. And in my mind, it's not the right time of year to be buying football. Not right now. Uh, I got lucky late in the day. I talked about having all the Don Russ slabs that I just got back from PSA. Mostly all 10s too, all the quarterbacks, all 10s. Um, and as I was sitting there thinking in my mind late in the day, like an hour before the show ended, thinking, you know what, maybe on Monday I'll pack these up and send them off to consignment on Monday morning. Just get them off the consignment and move them on, because the value, some of the values were so low on these. I didn't know if I would even sell them at all. But then a repacker came. He wanted to buy them all. He bought a good amount, and I do have to say I held on to the Jaden Daniels, the Michael Penix Jr., and the JJ McCarthy's, and I'll tell you why. The Jaden Daniels last sale $12, Michael Penix Jr. last sale $16, JJ McCarthy last sale $18. Right, I'm getting offered $8 to $10 on these cards, and I'm thinking to myself, they're rookie quarterbacks. I mean, even though they're Don Russ, they're rookie quarterback PSA 10s. I mean, there must be a better market at another time of this. Like, I'd rather just hold on to these cards and hope for the best than to know that I've sent them off to PSA and it was 20 something dollars. The goal is to get a 10. I got a 10. Unfortunately for me, it took PSA 6 months to grade these cards and get them back to me way past the date of when I should have been selling them. So I decided, you know what? I'll just hold on to these cards for now. I'll watch the market. I'm not trying to get rich on them. I'm just trying to recoup some. You try to sell the tens and recoup the money on the nines, um, and the value on these just do not add up right now. So I'm willing just to hold them. Uh, I picked up a 55 card stack of women's basketball cards. I dug through 10 rows of singles, getting the cards for under 50 cents each. And you put the work in again, if you know what you're looking for. I'm super excited to get those. Another card I did find, which I was surprised I was able to get as cheap as I did. And as you know, I rip a ton, and I'm still ripping uh, Bowman U basketball from last year, college basketball from last year. And I found this Braden Smith Big Kahuna on card auto. I'm going to hold that up. Plays for Purdue. And a few weeks ago, as I'm pulling all these cards out now, preparing for, the push for March Madness, right? This, January, February, March, the cards that I'm going to be selling. I start looking into all the players. Who's the player? Who are the players, that are excited, right? We're excited about right now for college basketball. Who could be our top draft pick next year in the NBA? I look up ESPN's top 100 men's players, and my man Braden here, he is number one. He's number one on that list. I picked this card up for half of what it sold for last time. Um, and that sale was pretty recent. So excited to get that card. A couple other names I had on my list. I did not find any of them, but I was happy to get this card. And again, we're talking about these boxes. I got 5-row boxes of all colored, numbered autos of the Bowman U, stuff. So really, really waiting for this season to really get underway, um, so I could start selling some of these cards off. Because I think that there wasn't many people buying in that room, um, I think dealers were, you know, they were willing to let some of their cards, go at a better price, go for a little cheaper. Um, Certainly not their higher end cards, and I got a small story to tell on that, but I like the lower end, like when I dug through the boxes and stuff. I said, "Hey, what can you do on these?" And they're like, "What are you thinking?" And of course, what I'm thinking is I'm going rock bottom. Like I want to pay 10 cents a card on any, that's what I'm thinking. And then you could tell me, because sometimes I don't think they know what the value of the cards are, and who wants to sit and look up what the value of 55 singles are on the box. Where on the other hand, I kind of want to know what every one of my cards in the box, basically what their value is. But I think people just, hey, just put them in the box. I mean, whatever we can get, a buck, 50 cents, whatever we can get for them. And for me right now, that works right now. If the answer is yes, I'll take it. Um, there was a guy on a bigger, and I'm going to talk on a bigger card, and I was in the middle of doing some other things, but I heard this conversation going on the table next to me. And first of all, right back to back, people walked up selling cards. A Drake May rookie downtown, Don Russ downtown. And I saw that card come by. I saw the guy had the card saying, "Hey, look, the last sale was 2,300. You know, I need to be close to that." And a person passed on the card. And within like a minute or two, another guy walked up to the table and had that same exact card, both in PSA 10s, had that same exact card. And now I hear the same guy negotiating again. He's like, "Well, what do you want to get on?" And the guy's like, "Well, you know what? I'm only into it for like $700, right? So, I mean, if you give me a good offer, I'll take it." So knowing that last card sold at 2,300, and this guy says to him, "Well, my offer is 1,700 on it." I thought, "Man, this guy got a laugh in his face." And he's like, "Can you do a little better?" And he's like, "No, 17's my." So the guy said, "All right, I'll let you know." And he turned and he walked off, and I'm doing some other things with somebody else, but I'm thinking to myself, wow, the last sale on that thing is $2,300, right? 1,700 is $600 below the last sale of that card. And then I'm like, well, maybe it was like a one-off sale. Like these are the things you're thinking in your mind. And the guy comes back like 4 minutes later and says, "Hey, I sold that for 1,800." And I'm like, wow, $1,800. That seems super low. So after they walked away, I pulled out my phone, I looked up and I said there's one on bids for over $2,000. I thought, "Holy cow, somebody got a good deal." And I think this is just and this was a dealer at the show, right, that had walked around with his card to sell. He took his card by, he took it out of the case and walked around from dealer to dealer. That in his mind is like, you know what? I need a sale today, and whatever it is, it is. And if he's into that for 700, he's thinking to himself, I'll take the 1,000 and run away with it. Where the person who bought that card at 18, I'm sure they're going to do very well with that card. I didn't have any of those kind of deals show up at my table, but it was this was the mentality, I think, of that show. Like people really needed to make a few sales. My guy Bill, he crushed it selling the wax. Um, and I'm sure because he's the only guy that had really good wax in the room. I mean, he set up a shelf, and I think he almost emptied his whole shelf selling wax. Like those kids just were just buying him out on that wax. Um, And people came around, asked what his prices were, and said, "Oh, okay." And they left, and they walked around. They all came back because he was the only guy. They paid his price. He's the only guy in the room with the wax. And I think that's the mentality of these small Saturday and Sunday shows, right? These weekend shows. You take the time, you make the plan, you get there. If it's wax you're looking for, you're not leaving that show empty-handed. You're going to buy some wax. Right? And I trust me, I know that mentality. I have that same one. I think we all do. For me, it's college basketball cards right now. If I want to buy them, if I find them in the room, I'm not leaving empty-handed. I'm going to buy them. I'm going to figure out a way to buy them. Um, if you have the right product at the right show, right, you'll do well. You need to know the show. And I used to talk about this all the time, knowing the show. This is probably not a great show for me to go back and do. And I think I already knew that. And if I went back to earlier episodes, I'll say, I don't think I'm doing this show again because I think I've it was like deja vu going through that here. I committed to this show not knowing it was a great show, but knowing that would motivate me to start getting these boxes together and start preparing myself for the next few weeks coming up and not waiting till last minute saying, "Oh no, I have this huge show on Saturday and I really need to, spend the next 2 days, 16 hours getting ready." Just motivated me to get going earlier, right? Um, this is kind of a transition time for me, right? Especially with my inventory. I was happy to have those Don Russ cards. I was happy to have something in my case. I mean, probably have, 10, 12 higher end cards that are in my case that, I'm happy to have in there, some Mahomes rookies, things like that. But, I'm happy to have the lower end stuff, the Mahomes, the Don Russ stuff, and I'm happy that I sold the bulk of that. But this transition is to get me into the next stage, right? The college basketball stuff, which I really, really enjoy. I spent a little time, probably a little over an hour this morning, just starting to pull out, a lot of the basketball cards that I'm going to be selling over the next few months and separating them. And, I'll have to put a few hours a day aside, like pricing them, figuring out, the players and who's hot, who's not, and, things like that. Even with WNBA, even though the season is over, with the unrivaled season gonna start in January, I don't think that's such a dead market either for me. I have a feeling there may be a little spike to that market with the unrivaled, because I think that's gonna be almost more exciting than what we've gotten with the WNBA. Um, and also all this wax we've been waiting on. I mean, I know the Don Russ Hobbies out now, but the retail stuff hasn't hit the shelves yet, right? I mean, Prism was supposed to, we know it's going to be put off. It's probably not going to be coming out till January, February. So with the Wax coming out and the Unrivaled playing, I think there might be another spike back up with the WNBA stuff. Traveling next week, Tuesday night, like I said, be live with Zip and Christina from Card Ladder. Tuesday night live, 9 p.m. Great interview with you next Sunday, a recorded interview. Corey Donahue. That is going to be fun. The following weekend, the 22nd, we will be recording live from Trade Night, the Mohegan Sun, the EC3 show. November 29th, Zip and I will be recording live from the big show in Bristol. So just lots of exciting things coming up over the next 3 or 4 weeks. So stay tuned, right? Stay tuned. And until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.